It's great to have the Preservation Hall Jazz Band in the Roadhouse. All right. That's a great song. That sounds great. That's a good one. Just go ahead.
Come with me to New Orleans. I'll show you a great time. All your dreams will come true. With me by your side. So come with me to New Orleans. What a city you will see. all your dreams will come true. Yeah, come with me to New Orleans. I'll show you a great time. All your dreams will come true. With me by your side, so come with me to New Orleans. What a city you will see. All your dreams will come true in New Orleans.
All the way from St. Peter Street in New Orleans, Preservation Hall Jazz Band in the Roadhouse. Finally, it's great to have you guys here. You're everywhere these days. Sasquatch, Bonnaroo, the Grammys.
And finally at KEXP.
Finally, yeah.
Yeah, finally made it over.
Give me a little taste about that Grammy experience. You were backing Dr. John and the Black Keys.
Well, we performed on the first Super Jam that the two of those, the Dan Arbach and Dr. John did together at Bonnaroo a couple years ago.
Okay.
We were actually the horns on that performance, and that led to Dan producing Dr. John's album.
Oh, it did? Okay.
Yeah.
That's how it happened.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't say, it happened because of us that day, but I would, I hope to think it.
I'm
Some
gonna
of
say-
it
I'm
led
gonna-
to
I'm gonna
that.
say it did. I
Yeah,
think
it led to us
yeah.
playing on the Grammys.
Right. What was
you
that
know.
like being there with all that hoopla?
That was a little strange. It almost felt like being in a wax museum. But then you're like, that's really Justin Timberlake, and that's really Jay-Z, and that's
Well, watching it on TV, I didn't know it was going to happen. Then I saw it happening. Now it's like, is that really happening? Wow, this is fantastic. And
That's
then
how it felt like
I
being
thought
there.
Max should have been turned up a bit on the mix.
Yeah.
But
It's you can't believe it. The lights go on and the band starts playing. And you're like, wait
Yeah.
a second,
yeah.
I'm up here on the stage. Yeah.
Preservation Hall Jazz Band, the new record. It's the first record of all new original material. It's also kind of the first record in 50 years of all new material. 50-year anniversary was last year. The record's called That's It. It's out on July 9th, and it's produced by yourself, Ben, and also by Jim James.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, it's interesting. I mean, all of our albums that we've done over the past 50 years, they've actually all been original compositions. They just weren't our compositions. And this was something that actually Jim encouraged us to do a long time ago when we first met him a few years back, was to start exploring this world of composition, and it really actually fits right into kind of the tradition that we come out of, where, go back 100 years when jazz was first coming about, it was first evolving, was first finding itself, and all of the music was original material, and it's, part of our responsibility and obligation and, commitment to the tradition that we're all a part of is to, not only protect the traditions that we grew up with and that have been passed down to us, but to also, keep them relevant for the next generation of people. If it doesn't remain relevant, it'll just disappear.
Absolutely. And that song was Come With Me, with vocals by Mr. Charles Gabriel, right there.
Yeah, Charlie Gabriel.
And the first one was called That's It.
Yeah, the first song we did is actually also the name of the album, That's It. And both of those are just, interestingly, they don't really sound like that far of a departure from what we normally do. It just, beautifully, seamlessly fits into what Preservation Hall is these days.
Yeah. And I'm going to guess that you met Jim during the Preservation album construction, where that was the record from a few years ago that benefited not only the hall, but your outreach program and your foundation. And it had a lot of collaborators on that record, people from Tom Waits to Andrew Bird to Jim James. And I'm guessing, is that when you met Jim James?
Yeah, that's when we first met in person. Mm-hmm. He came down to New Orleans and recorded a couple songs with us at Preservation Hall. And it was his first experience working with us and my first time collaborating with him. And that grew into a quick friendship. And we ended up going out on tour with My Morning Jacket for like a couple weeks that ran back through New Orleans. So we brought the whole Morning Jacket crew down to Preservation Hall one night. They ended up taking the stage and played a whole set, that night for about 70 people, which was amazing. Nice. And then over the years, Jim and I just been toying around with the idea of doing some sort of collaboration together. And, when you get creative people in a room, you never know what you're going to come out with. And this is something that after letting it simmer for a couple of years, this is what evolved.
Yeah, and it sounds great. Congrats.
Thank you.
Let's play some more music. Can you introduce the band first?
Absolutely.
Ben?
Over here on the sousaphone tuba, this is Mr. Ronell Johnson, and Ronell comes from a great musical family. In fact, is your great uncle? His great uncle was a bass player at Preservation Hall. Joseph Twat Butler was one of the original bass players at Preservation Hall. And on piano, Ricky's been with Preservation Hall since 1982.
Yeah, always dapper.
Yeah, Ricky Monet, Dapper Dan. Yeah, you're right. And the King of Monasia, we like to call him, amongst ourselves. And over there on the drums from one of our great musical families in New Orleans, the Lasty family.
Absolutely.
Anybody who's familiar with New Orleans music, knows his uncles. And Joe's been with the band. Gosh, Joe's been with the band just a little bit longer than me. He got in the band by 89. By 89, Joe got in the band. Joseph Lasty Jr. on the drums. And down there on the end, that's Mr. Freddie Lonzo on the trombone.
Always the popular one at the hall, I've noticed.
Always very popular. Yeah. Very popular, yes. Yeah. The trombone players, well,
Yeah.
They're
a breed apart.
But I've known Freddie my whole life. He used to play in my godfather's band, the Olympia Brass Band, that my father also played in. And then standing next to Freddie, that's Mark Bro. And Mark and I go back all the way to high school. We went to the New Orleans Center for Creative Arts together. And Mark was also grew up in this tradition. Both of his uncles, John Brunius, used to lead the Preservation Hall Band. And prior to that, Wendell Brunius, his uncle as well, used to lead the Preservation Hall Band. And then standing next to Mark, that's Charlie Gabriel on the clarinet. And Charlie comes from a long line of New Orleans musicians going back 4 generations, back to the 1800s. And then over here on the saxophone, vocals and odds and ends, this is Mr. Clinton Majan.
Mr. Bingo.
Mr. Bingo, that's right, the New Orleans Bingo Show. A lot of people are probably familiar who are fans of New Orleans music.
Absolutely.
All right.
And you're Ben Jaffe.
And I'm Ben Jaffe. That's right. That's right.
On sousaphone.
On the sousaphone,
AKA tuba, artistic director, and second generation Jaffe. We'll get into all that in a minute, but let's have one more song.
Yeah, we're going to do a song. This is a song Charlie gave the name to. We were trying to come up with the name of this song, and we had come up with none of them really stuck. But then we were actually playing the song live, and someone said, "What's the name of the song?" And Charlie said, "Sugar Plum." So ever since then, it's been Sugar Plum. And Charlie, and I said, "Well, how'd you come up with the name Sugar Plum?" He said, "Well, everybody likes plums."
Sugar Plum, a song from the new album called That's It on Sony Records, Preservation Hall Jazz Band on KEXP. Great to have you guys here. Congrats on the new record.
Thanks. Yeah, man, this is exciting times for us to be getting to even make records these days is a beautiful thing.
Yeah,
you know?
once again, all new original compositions on this record.
Yeah, I guess playing what we do, being at the core of what we do, being improvisers. You are composers by nature of what you do. That's just something you do. You make up melodies all day long, bass lines and chords, and to actually sit down and actually put them down on paper and see them come from like this unmolded block of clay into a form it's an incredible thing, something we've as a band we've never really explored before.
And did you all write together kind of to work it out as
we wrote in different configurations. We had some guest composers writing on the songs, but it was mostly myself and Charlie and Clint and Ricky Monet were the primary composers on the record. And it's I don't even really know how to explain or express the emotion of the experience, because it's the first time that I've ever sat down and actually wrote songs to be performed by us, for us. And it's just part of what we've been doing these past 5-6 years, collaborating with artists from all different walks of life, and sort of expanding our family of musicians, beyond New Orleans. And I think that's important. I mean, if you consider how significant New Orleans music is really to not just American music, but like world music. I always think of New Orleans music, like jazz, as being sort of the first world music.
Right.
You got your African, rhythms, and
got the Caribbean thing going.
The whole West, West Indian, Caribbean thing, and then the French and Spanish, and Charlie's, he taught me all about the habanero rhythm and sort of the whole, North African, influences.
Well, let's talk about New Orleans. Let's take you back, Ben, because I love going back. And people listening may not know everything about New Orleans or Preservation Hall Jazz Band. I mean, you guys are a band, but you really come from a place, and that place is called Preservation Hall on St. Peter Street. And you're second generation Jaffe. Your father, Alan, is the one that actually opened Preservation Hall as the way we know it is now back in 1961, after Larry Bornstein had his art gallery and was missing too many shows, so he started having old-timers jam in the space back in the late 50s. And at that time, kind of that second revival of New Orleans jazz was kind of on the wane, right? And rock and roll was coming in, New Orleans R&B was really happening then. So a lot of the older guys at that time didn't have a place really to play, and Larry brought him into that space, which is now Preservation Hall. And then your parents, I'm guessing 1960, were on a honeymoon from Pennsylvania, and were in New Orleans, and a year later, they're taking over the space, and it's Preservation Hall.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Well, yeah, you said it. That was about as good as I've ever heard it explained. My parents, it was a honeymoon, but it was really a beginning of their life together, because they didn't know where they wanted to live and create their home. So they made a list of 10 cities that they wanted to visit, and the first one was Mexico City, and they were actually driving back to Philadelphia, and New Orleans was on the list as well, and they stopped over in New Orleans. And if anybody, for anybody who's ever visited New Orleans, that you either, move there or you end up missing it your whole life. I think it's one of those places.
That is the commonality with most people who fall in love with New Orleans.
Yeah.
They go there for one reason
and end up there.
And then they get it, right?
Yeah.
They get the bug.
Yeah. So that happened to my parents. They ended up there. I mean, 1961, New Orleans was about as far from, was like the edges of like outsider culture. Really, like the French Quarter was sort of protective of this way of life, almost celebrated like outsider, ways of thinking. And my parents just happened to be there at the right time, the right age, with the right, the right idea and the right background to make something happen that really New Orleans had never seen or experienced before. By that time, New Orleans was pretty much known for Bourbon Street, and what little jazz there was still in the French Quarter was mostly bands accompanying dancers or playing for drinks on Bourbon Street.
Right.
So Preservation Hall opened its doors with a no drink policy. The idea being to create a venue that celebrated New Orleans musicians in a
Kind
dignified
of a pure environment.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just
not
about
just
the music.
Yeah, like for the music, and that was really unheard of in New Orleans. Although it had made its way up to the East Coast. A lot of these musicians my parents had seen or known because of that New Orleans revival that had taken place along the East Coast, and my parents wanted to create that same environment in New Orleans. And that's what Preservation Hall's been ever since.
Yeah, and your father also a tuba player. He was also in the band then and continued to be in the band for his whole life.
Yeah,
yeah.
He took over the tuba chair, I guess, sometime in the '60s,
Yeah.
and stayed with the band all the way up till he passed away in '87.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I think Clint put it best in that Danny Clinch video, but with the Louisiana Fairy Tale video with Jim James, and the fact that, the video is really good and it shows the room itself. And Clint says, you can take a butter knife and scrape the culture off of the walls in this place. I mean, nothing really has changed in that space.
Yeah, it's fortunately it's remained exactly the same. It's like walking into a photograph in a lot of ways. But it's a snapshot of the life that a lot of us lived. When I talk to Charlie, it's unbelievable because, Charlie knew and grew up with and was, taught by and mentored by a lot of the first generation, New Orleans musicians. I mean, I'm looking at that record cover right there. I mean, Charlie tells me a story about George Lewis and Jim Robinson all the time. How, he said these are the, yeah. Jim Robinson, Jim Little.
Yeah, they were the greats.
Billy and Dee Dee Pierce. I mean, Chester Zardis, Saeed Frazier, Lewis Nelson, Narvin Kimball. I mean, these are, to us, they're not just musicians. They're like part of our lives and people we knew. I was very fortunate that I got to catch the very tail end of that generation, Willie Humphrey and Percy Humphrey.
Well, let me ask you a question about that, because one of my favorite photos that is out there, and you have a wonderful website where there's a lot of great historical photos. But my favorite one, I think a lot of favorite photos for people who know you, Ben, is the one of the kind of happy accident photo where the Humphrey brothers are there with the typical photo shoot in front of the hall, and then there you are, about age 3. Stepping out in the way in the picture with that big hairdo.
Well, what happened
you
was
had the hair back at age 3.
Yeah, I had the same hair.
And that photo kind of
it's true. It's really me.
That photo kind of crystallizes, I think, everything really about, I don't know, I guess a bit of a charmed life for you. I mean, you've lived a New Orleans life at the feet of wonderful, legendary musicians your whole life.
Yeah, it's a blessing. I'm blessed to have gotten to know those people. To know. People whose names don't even exist outside of New Orleans. Frank Fields and James Prevost and Chester Zardis. Bass players. Who like shaped me, and Walter Payton. I mean, people who had like amazing influence, and all of us have that. All of us have like lists of names of people who influenced us. Whether it was at church or whether it was at school, or whether it was at a funeral parade or some sort of procession, or at carnival time, whatever it was. These people like shaped who we are today.
Yeah, and I think that really is the special thing about New Orleans, is the tradition and the multi-generational nature of the families who keep playing and keep it going.
Yeah, what's amazing is, Charlie always talks about he's a 4th generation musician, but he also talks about there's 3 more generations underneath him playing music. It's not only important like where we came from, it's also what are we going to leave behind, like what's our legacy, and like who are the people. You really whether or not you did your job well when you like look and see like what's going on with like young kids. It's like, did I do my job? What am I leaving behind for them? And that's really the most important thing at the end of the day. It's not about us at all. We're just passing through, and then it's that piece of vinyl right there, that picture and the music on it that'll survive and outlive us.
Absolutely. This is Preservation Hall Jazz Band. They're in the Roadhouse on KEXP. How about another song?
Yeah, absolutely. We're going to play another song. We're going to feature Ronell Johnson on the tuba. But this time he's going to take off the tube and he's going to take the microphone, and he's going to come front and center on this song called Dear Lord.
All right.
Oh, we about to go to church, huh? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, Lord. Come on now. Oh, Lord. Now I've been weak, oh I've been strong. Now I've done good, but sometimes I've been wrong. Well, I played with fire, burn ones I love. But I found redemption, and I have been reborn. Well, I've been to the mountains, and I have been reborn. And I've said mean words, heard ones I love. Now I've been hungry, oh I've been warm, and I have cried those tears of pain. But I found redemption, and now I'm born again. Well, I've been to the mountains, and I have been reborn. Everybody say by and by, oh Lord, by and by. Dear Lord, give me the strength to carry on. Dear Lord, give me the strength to carry on. I carry on, man. Oh yeah. Put your hands together out there. Put that thing up. Hallelujah. Well, I've seen birds, I've been at war. I've seen that too, so I spoke to the Lord. And now I have walked that long road before. But I found redemption, and I have been reborn. And I've been to the mountains, and I have been reborn. Everybody say by and by, oh Lord, by and by. Dear Lord, give me the strength to carry on. Dear Lord, give me the strength. Now let the church say, dear Lord, give me the strength. Hallelujah, dear Lord, please. Give me the strength. Give me the strength. Dear Lord, give me the strength. Oh, give me your fire. Give me the strength. Oh, give me the power. Give me the strength. I need your victory. Oh, yeah. Give me the strength. My Lord, pick me up and turn me around. You set my feet on higher ground. I said, dear Lord, give me. I said, dear Lord, give me. I said, dear Lord, give me. Well, dear Lord, give me. Well, I need you, Lord. Well, I need you, Lord. Please, dear Lord, give me the strength. I said, dear Lord, give me the strength. Dear Lord, give me the strength. Dear Lord, give me one more time now. Dear Lord, give me the strength to carry. Oh, He gave me the strength. He gave each and every one of y'all in that listening audience the strength. He gave the Preservation Hall Jazz Band the strength. From all the way from New Orleans, not just to carry that tuba, but to carry on. Mighty name of the Lord. Make a joyful noise unto the Lord. All ye land. Dear Lord.
Damn. That was all right. Ronell. That song, Dear Lord, from the new record, That's It, by the Preservation Hall Jazz Band. It came out yesterday. It's great to have you guys here, Ben. It's about time.
Thank you. It is about time. We've known each other for a while now.
Congrats on the record. It sounds fantastic.
Oh, well, thank you. Yeah, we combined like old old recording techniques with like new recording techniques, and really explored. I mean, that was something that Jim brought to the table when we were recording. He literally brought his entire studio down from Louisville. They drove it down in an old truck, and we set up in Preservation Hall. So we actually turned Preservation Hall into our recording studio.
Okay.
And it was almost, for us, it's like recording in our living room.
Yeah.
We know every nook and cranny of that room. And Jim's been there enough now that he knows where all the little secret hidden places are to put microphones, and he knew exactly which microphones to bring with them. He knew what kind of equipment to use. I mean, it was a really, really special experience.
Yeah. And people can always visit the hall at 726 St. Peter Street in New Orleans. 7 days a week there's music going on, 3 sets a night. And it'd be it'd be remiss to not talk about some of the other outreach programs you're involved with, and the foundation you're involved with, and all the other projects you're doing besides the band and the place.
Well, the reason that all of us in the band play music is because at some point in time, somebody took us under their wing and spent some time with us, mentoring us, teaching us, including us, in different musical activities, and that's something that I've always felt a responsibility, towards to ensure that this gift that we were given as children is passed on to other children. And Preservation Hall has always been a hub for that process. And one of the things that we realized after the hurricane is we really needed to really make a concerted effort to open Preservation Hall up to our young musical community. And what we did is we created the Preservation Hall Junior Jazz Band, which last year, actually the first class graduated of the last year. And the oldest member of the band, I think now is 16. But it's like the youngest members are like 9 years old, and they kind of go through this whole program where they take private lessons. Like Ricky teaches private lessons, Mark teaches private lessons, I teach private lessons. We all do different outreach classes, and we all have different things that we do at Preservation Hall to ensure that these things that weren't documented, these traditions. Nobody documented, the funeral tradition in New Orleans. But we are it. So it's an opportunity to teach children that, and also, at the end of the day, there's no other way to really teach someone this tradition out of a book. You have to live it. And there's no better way to live it than to be a part of it. And that's really what we want to do. We want to make sure that as the tradition moves forward, that it is taught to the next generation of kids who live in the community that this music came from. And that's it right there in a nutshell. I mean, if it ain't that, then it's not New Orleans jazz.
Yeah. Well, it's great to have you here. Thank you so much for coming, and good luck on everything. You're doing great work down there. I'm real proud of you.
Oh, thanks. You've seen a lot of it.
And just keep on going, and we'll see you down the road.
Yeah, absolutely. Hopefully next time it'll be in New Orleans.
Absolutely. I'll see you there. Preservation Hall Jazz Band in the Roadhouse, KEXP.